Alex Porter stared out the window of his small apartment in Portland. Rain tapped against the glass as he checked his bags one final time. The letter from the Global Space Agency sat on his coffee table, its official seal still looking fake to him even after reading it 50 times. He, a community college math teacher, had been chosen to represent Earth in the first Galactic Educational Exchange Program. The selection had shocked everyone, especially Alex himself. He taught basic algebra and geometry to adults trying to get their GEDs. Nothing special. Yet somehow, the alien representatives had picked him over professors from Harvard and MIT. The official explanation mentioned his creative teaching methods and adaptability, but Alex suspected they just needed someone expendable. His phone buzzed. The car was waiting downstairs. Alex took one last look around his apartment, wondering if he'd ever see it again. 6 months among the stars. It still didn't feel real. The drive to the secure facility in eastern Oregon was long and quiet. His driver, a stern government agent, barely spoke except to verify his identity 3 separate times. When they arrived at what looked like an ordinary warehouse in the desert, Alex was surprised to find no cameras, no press, no fanfare. "The public doesn't know about this exchange yet," the agent explained as they walked through multiple security checkpoints. "If you succeed, they'll announce it. If you fail," she didn't finish the sentence. Inside the warehouse was a circular area marked with strange symbols. 4 military officers stood guard while a man in a lab coat checked readings on a tablet. "Stand in the center and don't move," the scientist instructed. "The Proximant ship will create a transport field. You might feel dizzy. Try not to throw up." Alex stepped into the circle, clutching his small suitcase. "Wait, don't I get any more instructions? Training? Anything?" The scientist glanced up. "We don't know enough to train you. That's why you're going." Light began to swirl around Alex, and the air crackled with energy. His last view of Earth was the blank faces of the government staff, watching him with a mix of hope and doubt. The transport was instant and nauseating. One moment he was in Oregon, the next he stood in a room with curved walls made of some smooth blue material. Alex doubled over, fighting the urge to vomit. "Respiratory distress is common for carbon-based species during first transport," said a voice. Alex looked up to see what he first thought was a large lizard wearing clothes. The alien stood on 2 legs, with scales that shifted color slightly as it moved. "I am Zix, communication officer for the vessel Bright Equation," the reptilian being said. "Welcome aboard, human porter." Alex straightened up, trying to look dignified despite his sweaty face. "Just Alex is fine." Zix blinked sideways, its vertical eyelids momentarily confusing Alex. "Your species uses personal identifiers differently." "Noted." It gestured to a doorway that opened silently. "This way to your quarters. We will reach Proxima Centauri in 3 days." As they walked through corridors that seemed to adjust their size as needed, Zix explained basic protocols. The Academy hosts representatives from over 300 species. Many have been spacefaring for thousands of years. Some can communicate mathematically without language. Others exist partially in dimensions humans cannot perceive. Alex nodded, trying to look confident while his mind raced with anxiety. "I should inform you," Zix added casually, "that humans are widely regarded as intellectually primitive. Many species expect you will withdraw from the program within days." "Great," Alex muttered. "No pressure." Zix's scales rippled blue-green. "Your chances of success are estimated at less than 8%, but your species is known to occasionally defy probability." Alex looked out a viewport at the stars streaking by. Earth was already invisible, just one tiny dot among billions. He was truly alone now, carrying the hopes of humanity on his very average shoulders. Alex woke with a start as a soft chime echoed through his cabin. The ship had dropped out of faster-than-light travel, and through his viewport, he could see their destination. The Academy of Mathematical Sciences wasn't a planet as he had expected, but an enormous ring-shaped structure orbiting a blue-green world. "Human porter, prepare for shuttle transport," Zix announced over the intercom. "We dock in 20 minutes." Alex gathered his few belongings and tried to calm his racing heart. The shuttle bay was filled with other beings, delegates from various worlds completing their journey to the Academy. Some looked almost human, while others defied description. A cloud of shifting purple gas floated in a transparent container. A tall being made of what looked like living crystal clicked and shimmered as it moved. On the shuttle, a cat-like creature with 4 arms took the seat beside Alex. Her fur was golden with black stripes, and she wore what appeared to be a uniform with strange symbols. "First exchange program?" she asked in a purring voice. Alex nodded. "That obvious, huh? You have the look. I'm Kyra, third-year mathematics specialist from Fellows Prime." She extended a slender hand. "You're the human, yes. Word travels fast." Alex Porter, from Earth. He shook her hand, grateful for the friendly interaction. "Earth," she repeated, ears twitching. "Pre-spacefaring, single-star system, binary biology. Interesting choice for the exchange." The shuttle docked with the Academy, and students filed out into a vast circular hall with a ceiling that seemed to display the actual stars outside, but with mathematical formulas floating between them. A tall, thin being with gray skin and enormous eyes stepped onto a platform at the center of the hall. "Welcome, new delegates," it said, voice echoing without any visible amplification. "I am Grand Scholar Elzar, Dean of the Academy. You join a tradition of mathematical excellence spanning 50,000 years." As the dean spoke about the Academy's history, Alex noticed other students looking at him, some with obvious curiosity, others with what seemed like amusement or even disdain. "Did I do something wrong?" he whispered to Kira. "Your species is new to us," she whispered back. "Some believe humans lack the mental capacity for higher mathematics. They're wondering why you're here." After the welcome speech, students were led to their living quarters. Alex was assigned to a 4-person dormitory. One of his roommates was the purple gas creature he had seen earlier, now hovering in a corner of the room. "That's Vel," Kyra explained, having been assigned as Alex's guide. "They communicate through color patterns. The translation device on your desk will help." The crystalline being was named Nix-7, apparently a silicon-based life form with natural computational abilities. It regarded Alex with faceted eyes that reflected light in complex patterns. "Human brain simple. Human math primitive," it said in a voice like chimes. "Why human here?" Before Alex could respond, a voice came from the doorway. "Because we're full of surprises." A woman in a gray uniform stood there, pushing a cart of cleaning supplies. She was human. "Linda Hayworth," she said, nodding to Alex. "Custodial staff. Only job they think humans are qualified for." She looked around to make sure no one else was listening. "Been here 6 months. You're the first human student they've allowed." "Is it that bad?" Alex asked. Linda shrugged. "Most species here have been doing space math for centuries. They think we're barely above animals. The only reason they let you in is to prove how backward we are." She leaned closer. "Watch yourself. This exchange program isn't what it seems." After she left, Alex sat on his bed, overwhelmed. Through the window, he could see the curve of the Academy stretching away, filled with the brightest minds in the galaxy. Somewhere in this vast structure, he would have to prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars. The classroom was unlike anything Alex had ever seen. Instead of desks, students floated in special chairs that adjusted to each species' body type. The walls displayed constantly shifting equations, and the ceiling showed what looked like a map of the universe, but with mathematical symbols marking various points. Professor Quan entered, and the room fell silent. The professor had 12 thin tentacle-like arms and 3 bulging areas on his head that Alex guessed were separate brains. He wore what resembled a robe made of light. "Today we begin elementary trans-dimensional calculus," Professor Quan announced. His voice seemed to come from 3 different directions at once. A simple review for most, but necessary foundation work. Alex activated his translator device as symbols appeared in the air. What the other students saw as basic, his translator converted into the most complex mathematics he had ever encountered. It was like trying to understand quantum physics while only knowing addition and subtraction. "Human," Professor Kwan said suddenly, pointing at Alex with 3 of his appendages. "Solve the opening equation." All eyes turned to Alex. He stared at the symbols, completely lost. His translator was still processing the conversion. I'm still familiarizing myself with the notation system," Alex said. Professor Kwan made a sound like bubbles popping. "As expected. Perhaps we should provide you with picture books instead. Nick 7, please demonstrate for our primitive colleague." The crystalline being solved the equation instantly, its body glowing with pride. Several students laughed. During the break period, Alex sat alone in the academy's garden area, trying to make sense of his notes. The garden contained plants from hundreds of worlds, some moving on their own, others glowing or changing colors. Kyra found him there and sat beside him. "Don't let Kwan bother you. He treats all new species this way." "I don't belong here," Alex said. "I can't even understand the basics." Kyra looked around to make sure they were alone. "Look, there's something you should know. Your type of mathematics and ours developed along different paths. What we call elementary transdimensional calculus is just our way of understanding space-time relationships." She picked up his notes and drew some simple diagrams. "See this part? It's basically describing how to calculate position in 4-dimensional space. Think of it like plotting points on a map, but the map also includes time and probability." With Kyra's help, the concept started to make a little more sense. Alex wasn't catching up, exactly, but at least he wasn't completely lost anymore. 2 weeks passed this way. Each day, Alex struggled through classes, faced Professor Kwan's thinly veiled insults, and then studied with Kyra's help during break periods. He made slow progress but remained at the absolute bottom of the class rankings. One evening, Alex overheard 2 insectoid students talking in the hallway. "I bet the human drops out by the end of the month," one clicked. "Too generous. I give him 1 more week," the other replied. No human brain could possibly handle the midterm evaluation. Alex returned to his room to find Linda cleaning the shared bathroom. "How's it going, teacher?" she asked. "Not great. Apparently there's a big test coming up." Linda stopped working. "The midterm evaluation. Already. You know about it." She nodded gravely. "It's infamous. The logician's nemesis, they call it. Even advanced species often fail it the first time." Before Alex could ask more questions, Professor Kwan's voice came over the Academy's announcement system. "Attention all first-year delegates. The midterm evaluation will take place in 3 days. Those who fail will be removed from the program and returned to their home worlds, as their minds are clearly unsuited for higher galactic education." Alex's heart sank. 3 days to prepare for a test that even evolved alien minds struggled with. His time at the Academy was about to end before it really began. The day of the midterm evaluation arrived too quickly. Alex had barely slept, spending every waking moment studying with Kyra's help. Linda had smuggled him copies of old test preparation materials that she had found while cleaning professors' offices. None of it seemed to help. The concepts remained just beyond his grasp. Students gathered in the Grand Hall, a massive dome-shaped room with tiered seating arranged in a circle. At the center stood Professor Kwan alongside several other instructors and Grand Scholar Elzar himself. The logician's nemesis has been the standard evaluation tool for new mathematical minds for over 12,000 years, Elzar announced. It measures not just computational ability, but perception of multidimensional relationships. These skills are essential for advanced spacefaring navigation and quantum engineering. Alex took his assigned seat between a jellyfish-like creature that glowed with nervous energy and a four-armed insectoid being that kept clicking its mandibles. Looking around, he noticed every species had different ways of showing anxiety. Even Nick 7, usually so confident, was vibrating slightly in place. "The test will last 6 hours," Professor Kwan explained. "Your interfaces will adjust to your species' sensory and input capabilities." A holographic display appeared before each student. Alex's showed a complex grid filled with strange symbols and numbers arranged in a 9x9 pattern, but with additional layered elements that seemed to extend into other dimensions. The symbols shifted slightly, as if not entirely stable in three-dimensional space. "Begin," Professor Kwan commanded. The grand hall filled with the sounds of furious calculation. Some students used multiple limbs to interact with their displays. Others entered trance-like states, their bodies pulsing with energy. The jellyfish next to Alex extended glowing tendrils directly into its interface. Alex stared at his grid, panic rising in his chest. He didn't even know where to start. The symbols were alien, the mathematics beyond his training. He was going to fail spectacularly, confirming every low expectation about human intelligence. But as he studied the grid, something familiar began to emerge. He looked closer, focusing not on the alien symbols but on their relationships to each other. The way they were arranged in rows, columns, and sections. The shifting elements seemed to be different layers of the same basic structure. 20 minutes into the test, Alex began to laugh quietly. The sound drew annoyed glances from nearby students. Professor Kwan looked up sharply from his monitoring station. Alex didn't notice any of this. He was too busy examining the grid, confirming his suspicion. Behind all the exotic presentation and extra-dimensional components, the test was fundamentally a complex variation of a Sudoku puzzle. Every Sunday morning back home, Alex would sit with coffee and work through the Sudoku challenges in the newspaper. Over the years, he had developed a knack for spotting patterns and solving even the most difficult puzzles quickly. What the aliens considered an ancient, sophisticated mathematical evaluation tool was essentially the same logic game humans played for fun. The symbols were different, and there were extra layers that seemed to represent additional dimensions, but the basic rules appeared the same. Each row, column, and section needed to contain each symbol exactly once. Alex took a deep breath and began to work methodically through the grid. He started with the obvious placements, the singles where only one possibility existed. Then he moved on to pairs and triples, gradually filling in the grid layer by layer. As he worked, he noticed Kira watching him from across the hall. Her expression showed surprise at his calm, systematic approach. Nearby, Nick 7 was frantically calculating, its crystalline body flashing with stress. For the first time since arriving at the academy, Alex felt confident. This wasn't alien mathematics beyond human comprehension. This was a puzzle, and puzzles were something he understood. Alex worked steadily through the puzzle, his confidence growing with each section he completed. The extra-dimensional aspects were tricky. Some symbols seemed to exist in multiple positions simultaneously, but he found that treating each dimensional layer as a separate puzzle that needed to interact correctly with the others worked well. Professor Kwan noticed Alex's focused progress and glided over to his station. The professor had expected to find the human in distress, perhaps even crying or giving up entirely. "Is there a problem, human porter?" Professor Kwan asked, three of his brain bulges pulsing with what might have been concern or suspicion. "Just checking something," Alex replied without looking up. "These symbols here, am I correct that they represent values that exist across all dimensional layers simultaneously?" Professor Kwan's appendages twitched in surprise. "That is correct. You understand the quantum entanglement principle. If you call it that, sure." Alex shrugged. "I call it a fixed value that affects multiple grids." Returning to work, Alex continued methodically filling in sections. When he encountered particularly challenging areas, he used advanced Sudoku techniques like X-wing patterns and swordfish formations to eliminate possibilities. Across the hall, Kyra watched with growing amazement. Like most students, she was still struggling with the basic structure of the test. Yet here was Alex, the supposedly primitive human, working through it as if it were routine. Nick 7 noticed too. The crystalline being's usual smooth surfaces had developed jagged edges from stress. Human cheating, it hissed to a neighboring student. Not possible otherwise. 4 hours into the 6-hour test period, Alex reviewed his work. He had completed all 9 layers of the multidimensional grid. Each row, column, section, and dimensional intersection contained every symbol exactly once, with the quantum-entangled values maintaining consistency across all layers. He double-checked his solution, then triple-checked it. Satisfied, Alex raised his hand. The motion sent a ripple of whispers through the grand hall. No one had ever finished the logician's nemesis early. Professor Quan moved towards Alex with obvious reluctance, as if expecting something embarrassing. "You wish to surrender, human porter?" the professor asked. "No," Alex said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I'm finished." Complete silence fell over the hall. Every student turned to stare. Grand Scholar Elzar himself approached, his long gray fingers tapping a control panel on his wrist. "Submit your solution," Elzar said, his huge eyes narrowing. Alex pressed the submission button on his interface. The holographic display flashed, then projected his completed grid for all to see. A scanning beam passed over it from multiple angles. Professor Quan made a sound like steam escaping. Impossible. But the verification scan completed, and the display flashed green. A perfect score. "How?" Professor Quan demanded, all 12 appendages writhing. No first-year student has ever completed the nemesis on their first attempt. No human mind should be capable of comprehending these mathematical relationships. Alex smiled, suddenly understanding his place in this grand academic experiment. It's not that complicated once you see the pattern. On Earth, we call these Sudoku puzzles. People solve them on their lunch breaks. Elzar and Quan exchanged looks that even Alex could read as shock. "Sudoku," Elzar repeated, the alien word strange on his lips. "Yeah. Number placement puzzles. They're in our newspapers, websites, even on the backs of cereal boxes. Kids do them for fun." Alex noticed Linda at the back of the hall, where she had been pretending to clean while watching the test. She gave him a subtle thumbs up and a wide grin. The other students were responding differently. Some seemed impressed, others disturbed. Nick 7 had gone completely still, its crystalline structure frozen in what looked like disbelief. Kyra approached, her tail swishing with excitement. "You must explain how you did this." As the verification system confirmed his perfect score on all dimensional layers, Alex realized that what had seemed like the end of his academic journey was actually just the beginning of something much bigger for humanity. News of Alex's perfect score spread through the academy faster than light-speed communication. By evening, every species representative knew that a human had solved the legendary logician's nemesis in record time. The academy buzzed with theories, rumors, and disbelief. Alex was escorted from the grand hall to a small room where several academy officials waited. Their expressions were unreadable to him, but their stiff postures suggested tension. "Human porter," one official with blue skin and 6 eyes said, "we need to verify that no cheating occurred." "I didn't cheat," Alex said firmly. Another official, tall and thin with pale green skin, stepped forward. "We will perform a neural scan. This is standard procedure for unexpected test outcomes." Alex hesitated but agreed. They placed a device shaped like a crown on his head. It hummed softly as it worked. "Remarkable," the blue official said after studying the results. "He solved it legitimately. His neural pathways show recognition patterns consistent with spatial logical problem solving, not memorization or external assistance." Later that evening, Alex received a message to report to Grand Scholar Elzar's private study. The circular room contained objects Alex couldn't identify and walls lined with three-dimensional mathematical models that seemed to move when he wasn't looking directly at them. Elzar sat behind a desk that floated in the center of the room. "Please sit, human porter." Alex took a seat in a chair that adjusted to his body shape. "I must share something significant," Elzar said, leaning forward. "What you call Sudoku puzzles are derived from ancient mathematical principles used throughout the galaxy for cognitive training." Elzar pressed a button, and a holographic display showed similar grid patterns from various worlds and times. These pattern recognition tests evaluate a mind's ability to perceive logical relationships intuitively rather than through computational power alone. Most species require generations of training to develop this skill. Alex shook his head in amazement. "On Earth, we do these for entertainment. Newspapers print them daily. People solve them on their morning commute." Elzar's large eyes blinked slowly. "That is precisely what fascinates us. Your species treats as recreation what others consider advanced mathematics. This suggests a natural aptitude in human cognition that we had not detected." As Alex left Elzar's study, he found Linda waiting in the hallway. "I heard," she said. "Everyone's talking about it." "Turns out it was just a fancy Sudoku puzzle," Alex said with a laugh. Linda smiled. "I knew that." Alex stopped walking. "You did?" "Of course. I've been cleaning Elzar's office for months. I've seen the test designs." She shrugged. "I recognized the pattern immediately, but I'm just a custodian. No one asks the cleaning staff for their mathematical insights." "That's ridiculous," Alex said. "You could have passed the test too. Maybe next year." Linda's smile faded. "But this is bigger than you or me, Alex. The Academy has been dismissing humans as intellectually inferior since they discovered Earth. You just proved them wrong in the most public way possible." As they walked through the Academy halls, Alex noticed other students watching him. Some with curiosity, others with newfound respect. Nick 7 deliberately turned away when Alex passed. "So what happens now?" Alex asked. "Now," Linda said, "the galaxy has to reconsider everything they thought they knew about humans. They've been measuring intelligence all wrong, focusing on computational power instead of intuitive problem-solving." Alex thought about his community college classroom back on Earth. He had always believed that mathematics could be made accessible with the right approach. Now that approach might change humanity's place in the galactic community. "The Academy Council has called an emergency session," Linda added. "Apparently, they're reassessing human intellectual capacity. You've started something big, Alex. Something that can't be undone." The days following the midterm evaluation transformed Alex's experience at the Academy. Students who had previously ignored or mocked him now approached with questions. His small study area became crowded with beings eager to understand his solving method. Professor Quan, despite his initial skepticism, requested that Alex explain his approach to the entire class. The professor's 12 appendages fidgeted nervously as he made the announcement. "Human Porter will demonstrate his unique problem-solving methodology," Quan said, the words clearly difficult for him. Alex stood before the class, feeling strangely confident. "The key isn't calculating every possibility," he explained. "It's about recognizing patterns and using elimination strategies." He displayed a simplified version of the test grid. "When I approach a puzzle like this, I look for what I call singles first. Positions where only one value can go based on what's already placed." The alien students watched intently as Alex worked through several examples. For some, especially the more computational species like Nick 7, his intuitive approach seemed almost magical. "But how do you know which pattern to apply without testing all configurations?" Nick 7 demanded, its crystalline surface flickering with confusion. "I don't always know for certain," Alex admitted. "Sometimes I make an educated guess based on experience, then adjust if it doesn't work out." This concept of educated guessing sparked intense debate. Many species relied purely on certainty, and exhaustive calculation. The idea of using intuition and pattern recognition as primary tools rather than last resorts was revolutionary to them. During this time, the Galactic Council for Education called an emergency session. Grand Scholar Elzar represented the Academy, bringing records of Alex's test and neural scans. The Council's deliberations lasted 3 full days. On the 4th day, Elzar summoned both Alex and Linda to his study. The Council has reached several significant conclusions, Elzar said. First, our assessment metrics have been fundamentally flawed. We've overvalued raw computational ability while undervaluing pattern recognition, intuitive leaps, and lateral thinking. Linda nodded. Humans have always been good at finding shortcuts and simplifying complex problems. Indeed, Elzar continued. Second, humans possess cognitive qualities that complement traditional galactic mathematical approaches. Your species lacks our computational power, but excels at creative problem-solving. Alex thought about his classroom back on Earth. That's basically how I teach math. Find ways to make complex ideas accessible through patterns people can recognize. Which brings me to the Council's final decision, Elzar said. They wish to establish a true exchange of knowledge. Previously, we expected Earth to simply absorb our superior techniques. Now we recognize humans have valuable approaches to contribute. You want to learn from us? Linda asked, surprised. Precisely. The Council proposes a 2-way educational program. Alex will continue studying advanced galactic mathematics while also teaching human problem-solving approaches. Alex considered this opportunity. I'll do it, on one condition. Linda becomes an official instructor too. She recognized the test pattern just as I did. Elzar's large eyes blinked in surprise, then understanding. Of course, our oversight regarding human Hayworth reflects exactly the cognitive bias we must correct. That evening, Alex and Linda walked through the Academy's observation deck, watching the stars through the transparent ceiling. Everything's changing, Linda said. 2 weeks ago, I was scrubbing bathrooms while aliens debated whether humans could count past 20. Now they're asking us to teach them, Alex added. It's surreal. It's more than that, Linda said. It's the beginning of humanity's real contribution to galactic knowledge. Not just taking our place among the stars, but helping others see those stars differently. 6 months after arriving at the Academy, Alex prepared to return to Earth. His quarters were already packed, but instead of one small suitcase, he now had 3 large containers filled with books, data crystals, and strange devices gifted by his alien students. A knock at his door revealed Grand Scholar Elzar, accompanied by representatives from the Galactic Council. Human Porter, Elzar said, before you depart, the Council wishes to present you with a formal proposal. The tallest representative stepped forward. We wish to establish a permanent educational exchange between Earth and the galactic community. Hundreds of our scholars are eager to study human mathematics and cognition. Alex was stunned. You want to send alien teachers to Earth, and to bring more human instructors here, the representative confirmed. Your approach to problem solving has already influenced several major research projects. Species that previously relied solely on computational methods are now applying human-style pattern recognition with remarkable results. Later that day, Alex visited Linda's new office. No longer a custodian, she now held the title of ambassador to the Galactic Educational Council, the first human appointed to such a position. So you're really staying? Alex asked. Linda nodded. Someone needs to guide the next group of human teachers when they arrive. Besides, I'm writing a textbook on comparative problem-solving approaches across species. She smiled. Who would have thought my community college degree would be valuable in space? Speaking of community college, Alex said, I should get ready for my departure. Earth has no idea what's coming, Linda said. Everything changes now. The return journey felt much shorter than the trip out. When Alex's transport ship entered Earth's atmosphere, he was surprised to see a landing pad prepared at his small Oregon community college rather than the secret government facility. A small crowd waited as he disembarked. The college president, several government officials, and a group of excited students watched as Alex stepped off the ship, followed by 3 alien beings, a teaching delegation from the academy. "Welcome back, Professor Porter," the college president said, looking nervously at the aliens. "Your colleagues have explained everything." 6 weeks later, Alex's classroom had been completely transformed. The old desks had been replaced with adaptable workstations, similar to those at the academy. Students of all ages filled the seats, alongside visiting alien scholars who took notes on human teaching methods. "Today we're going to examine a different way of approaching multivariable equations," Alex explained to his class. He displayed a mathematical puzzle that combined Earth algebra with concepts from Proxima space-time calculation. "Remember, it's not about computing every possibility. Look for patterns first." A young woman in the front row raised her hand. "This reminds me of those logic puzzles in gaming apps." "Exactly," Alex said. "The principles behind Sudoku, crosswords, and other puzzles are actually fundamental to understanding higher-dimensional mathematics." In the corner, one of the alien visitors, a small blue being with 4 eyes, made excited notes. The connection between human recreational activities and advanced mathematics continued to fascinate galactic researchers. After class, Alex checked his messages. The Galactic Council had approved funding for 50 more human teachers to visit various academies throughout nearby star systems. Meanwhile, Earth's universities were scrambling to develop programs in comparative cognitive mathematics, a field that hadn't existed 6 months ago. As Alex watched his human and alien students work together, he thought about that terrifying day when he'd first faced the alien math test. One simple puzzle had changed humanity's place in the universe, opening doors to new knowledge and respect. The Sudoku incident, as it was now called in galactic records, hadn't just proven human intelligence. It had shown that sometimes the greatest insights come from looking at problems differently, a lesson that was now spreading across the stars.